things installed, so it's not so crazy. But first thing we're going to do, this gives you an overview. I'm going to go to GitHub, and I'm going to create a new repository, and I'm going to call it Smack Startup. I think that's not the name that I got. Oops, I already got that one. Okay, so we'll just call it, I guess I renamed that one, so we'll call it, for the moment, we'll call it Smack Startup 2. Okay, so we'll create that repository, and then we'll branch it into my local thing, so set up on the desktop. So remember, I've already got GitHub installed on my Mac. So then that set asks me, and it already knows where my other ones are, so I'll set it up that way. I clone it here locally. Okay, so then I want to point at it. Well, I guess I'll copy some stuff into it first. So I'll go over into my file system, and I've got here where I've got all the sites. And yeah, they're always working on, so let's close these up so that we can see them. And I had startup. So I'm going to populate startup 2. I'm going to populate it from with the kind of basic stuff here. So in the docs is where we've actually got content, and it's got all this stuff for putting together outlines like this. Oops, I want that closed. So I'll copy everything, except I won't copy the Git thing, because the Git thing is for that one, and I don't want that Git thing. So I copy it all, and then I go and I paste it in startup 2 like this. See, it's already got its own Git thing. That's what GitHub gave it. So then I paste the stuff in, and it's got a gazillion little dinky files for doing all the outlining stuff. So it takes a moment to do that. And while it does that, I'm going to go and I'm going to remove a little link, because I use, in order to run this locally, I use something called MAMP, which took me like 10 minutes to get a handle on. It's not that hard. And then remember I've done this stuff before. Over here, in that place, I'm going to put in a new symlink, because startup 2, because MAMP wants to look over, it wants to know where to look for files. So I tell it where to look for files here, this way. This is a symlink. So obviously each one of these subject matters, there's something more to be said. So on MAMP, which runs on my local host here, should be that I come up with something. And let's see what I come up with. Yeah, okay, so there it tells me that I got my new website, and it gives me a bunch of stuff here, and it's because it references a list up on GitHub. It's got a list of all the other sites that I can go to. So it's got my nice Twitter feed in there. So you could plug something else in if you wanted to. Okay, so but let's go and look and see how that one's put. So this is the home page here. So this is just more CommonAccord stuff like this. Okay, and you can fiddle with it as you want. In fact, we will fiddle with it. This is a website 4 complete. So we'll go over here, website 4. This is a website 4. And we want our name. We wanted what it was going to be, Smack Startup 2, like that. Startup. Eventually we'll host it up. I guess we'll call it Startup 2. This is a website for doing the startup docs cleanly from scratch. Okay, so only example intended. Okay, so that's good enough here. So then if we go back to our landing page, should be, if we go back to our landing page and we refresh it, should be, yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we, oops, hang on. You'll see, okay, yeah, no, I need to fix that up. But first let's go and create a document. So there's a folder with the documents, and you'll see we don't have much here. We do have a framework for an agreement, because that came from the Bear site like this, but we haven't got any content. So let me just, so you can do it with, just to show you can do it with a bunch of parties. Oops, I messed something up there. Yes, indeed, I messed something up there. Oh, did I fail to update that thing? So yeah, now we should have a bunch of parties like this. Okay. So I need to go back and make sure that that's updated. So now let's go and back to our file system, and remember in cold, so which is just where I put the stuff. So let's go to startup, and we'll grab something out of startup just so we can start up our startup. So in documents like this, let's do in startup. Why don't we take something like, we could take, and not the NVCA stuff, but we could take, how come stuff keeps bouncing open on me? So let's do the YC stuff. So I'm going to copy YC. Remember, I have to copy it into doc startup. I'm going to copy it, take a copy. Then I'm going to go over to sites, cold, just opening two of these things. And that's, oh yeah, the video recording makes this very slow. So we had startup 2, go in startup 2, doc, and remember we needed to put that into startup, so we'll create a new folder, startup. I think it's without a uppercase, without camel case. We go in there and then we paste this thing there. Okay, so now we got the YC, and now we'll see if this works. So we go into the documents, look at the documents, we've now got startup, and we've now got YC here, and we've got the safe, and here's the moment of truth, whether or not I need to, yeah, startup is lowercase. So if I have got all the dependencies, and I think it's dependent only on stuff that's within here, then we see we've got a financing node from YC, as well as a bunch of others. So then you could go about doing your work. And why don't we conclude on that as how to whip together a site, and I can show also how you get the site up on the web so that it's not just local, people can see it. You can, not just on your own server, it could be, you could show it to the world if that's what you were trying to do. Okay, so there we go. And that should be, I think this is